podcast where we talk about media from the horror genre and take a queer reading of a single book, video game, film, podcast, or TV show to explore just how queer horror can be. Prepare your eyes for some very intense lighting as we continue our celebration of Drac-tober, a month-long focus on the character of Count Dracula. And now, from the ancient castle of Transylvania, we are here to talk about Universal Pictures' film from 1931, Dracula. I'm Marilee.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm David.
And we want to thank all of the bats in our belfry for being a part of our amazing community by supporting Fear-Coded Patreon. So thank you so much to Will, Knight of Cups, Doug, Jacob, Alyssa, Blake, Puckish Rogue, and Tyler. Now, before we feed upon flies and spiders and all other manner of small living creatures, I want to say hello and check in with my co-hosts to find out how things are going for them in the landscape of horrors that our real world has to offer. What's making y'all scared, or what is making you feel prepared?
Y'all, I am prepared today, but it's on a teeter's edge because it all is based on a temporary beverage that I have in front of me. Beverages have been my prepared before. They will probably be my prepared again. I love a beverage. I like having many beverages.
A bevy, if you will.
Yeah.
A bevy of beverages. I do. And I like to collect all the cups here on my desk like a graveyard of all that have come before. But this afternoon, I am enjoying a cafe bonbon, which is an espresso that I've added hot water to and then poured sweetened condensed milk into because I needed just a little bit of extra today. And as this cup becomes less full, I expect there to be more extra within me that I will give to all of you.
That is
so maybe
truly a miracle of liquid technology at work.
Yeah.
Girl, tell me about it. I didn't know. I mean, I guess I knew you could drink sweetened condensed milk. You can drink anything that's liquid-like. I only have known it in baking. So the idea of adding it to a liquid as a way to sweeten and turn coffee, which is normally a beautiful dark brown, into this disgusting khaki-like color. I don't like that part, but I do like that it is, it's probably very caloric. It's probably going to fill me up.
Probably. I mean, we've talked about the ideal ratio of beverages before, which is, of course, having 3 beverages, one for hydration, one for flavor, one for caffeination or stimulation if it's alcohol instead. So this is, I think, doing double duty because it's for flavor and stimulation.
Yeah, and then of course I do have the Pizza Hut giant cup of water.
Incredible.
We had to by the way, we had to take these from the United States because cups here are made for like dwarf people. If you go over to someone's house and you're like, "Can I have a glass of water?" They're like, "Yes, here's a Dixie cup of water." It's just wild. And every Spanish person who has ever come over to this house, when we serve them water in these glasses, they go, "Wow, this is fantastic. I wish we had invented larger cup technology."
It exists. It exists. You simply have to convert to honestly, one thing that we really nailed, which is large cold beverage. I think that that's
true.
The American thing that we've got. We have that, and it's great.
Yeah. Why sell soda by the liter and then pour it into the smallest cup known to man?
No,
Precisely.
Large cold beverage. Drink the whole thing at once.
Large cold beverage.
Truly.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what's making me prepared. Cafe bonbon, or again, sweetened condensed milk poured into a watery espresso. But Tyler, what are you feeling today? Are you feeling scared or are you feeling prepared?
I'm feeling prepared because I got a library card, a for real one.
It's happened. Yay. Yay, Tyler.
Yes, so I got a digital library card and then I had to go get a physical one to go print out some documents because printing things out is a handy service that your local library provides.
That's true.
And I just had like a nice conversation with the librarian. I got to enjoy the space. It's really big and pleasant. My library actually has like a little like iced coffee stand inside of it. I know. Listeners at home, both of my co-hosts mouths agape, shocked. And I cannot blame them because I was at the computer printing some stuff out and then lo and behold, I hear a blender going, which is not one of the things I would predict to hear in a library. And boom, there it was.
Gotta tell you, my face was not only shocked, but it was being appalled. Because as you know, coffee should never be cold. That's a sin against its creation.
Well,
but
I mean,
fine.
As you say, drinking your cold coffee.
It's not cold. Oh my God, Marilee, this is steaming hot.
Oh,
The
I'm
sweet-
so sorry. I'm used to that color of beverage being a cold
Yeah,
one.
That's
same.
why it's a bad color. Marilee. No. This is burning my hand to hold.
Now, David, I said I was prepared, but I am also scared.
What sets you on the other side of this?
You and your coffee opinions. Listeners at home, David is talking shit about what looks to be a delicious cup of coffee. I put in quite a lot of milk or cream into coffee because I want it to taste good and make me feel more alert. So my coffee is typically a pleasant light brown, very soothing looking, whereas David has been talking shit about it.
I have. I guess I don't typically drink coffee on pod because we're usually the afternoon here, and I typically drink coffee in the morning. But no, I would normally drink hot black plain coffee.
Ugh, madness.
Just
Here's my very unpopular coffee opinion is that I hate it.
altogether from start
Wow.
to finish.
Yeah, here's the thing. I wish I didn't hate coffee. It would make my life so much easier if I could just get on board the coffee train. It's just, here's the thing about coffee. It tastes bad. So
Well, yeah.
I can't.
Well, that's why you add cream and sugar and milk and all that other stuff to make it that very pleasant, soothing, light brown color.
No, it still tastes bad. You can add stuff to it, but the core taste remains awful. So I'm simply not for me.
Tyler, back to the library. Because it's not just the iced coffee available at the library. There is so much else available too at the library. Was the entire impetus of getting the library card just to print this particular set of things you needed printing?
Yes.
That is fantastic. I love knowing that.
I love
just
that.
love knowing that. But now that you're a member of the library, you know that you can interlibrary loan. You can get things from other libraries.
It's true. Yes,
Yeah.
I did that before when I lived in Florida. I would get an interlibrary loan of the different Star Wars Marvel comics. And it would be nice to continue that because even though I didn't like all of the art, I thought some of it was bad. But you know, I just like to read a Star Wars, and it's too difficult to get into Marvel because there's like 5 different issues of 6 different brands all running at the same time, and I can't keep up. It would be nice to read X-Men though.
Yeah,
I would like to read the
Yeah.
X-Men.
from the beginning.
No.
Which X-Men?
Okay.
There are too many of them.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm just glad you didn't want to from the beginning because there was that like Marvel iPad app that was free for like a month, and I used it to read the first X-Men, and it was surprisingly racist.
Oh no.
Yeah, the classic X-Men run is a wild I don't recommend.
Yikes.
Very racist.
Yeah.
I mean, as was the style at the time, which is not great, but it just was. It surprised me. It just surprised me
Yeah.
because sort of the whole thesis of the X-Men is like an anti-racist theme.
Yeah. Well, Marilee, are you feeling scared or prepared today?
Well, I was all set to come on to pod today saying that I was scared.
Oh,
Because here's the thing. I have a package in the mail that I ordered it over a week ago. I just really wanted this mail, and I've been waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it, and it was not supposed to be delivered until Monday.
Monday, the worst
Monday.
day.
Yeah. So I was all prepared to come on pod today and say, I am scared because I simply am waiting for this package that will not arrive. But guess what? It's coming today.
It's coming today.
So early. Yeah, so I am prepared because my mail is getting here early.
I love that for you.
Will you be able to receive it if you are on the podcast?
My brother's home,
Okay,
so he
okay.
should be, yeah.
Okay.
But even still, it's probably just going to get left in my mailbox, and I'm going to get a notification on my phone about halfway through recording, be like, your package has arrived, and I'm going to dip sadly on both of you. It's like, hey, listen, great podcast episode. I'm leaving early to go get my package.
This is worse than that time that she played Hades 2, and we just lost Marilee for the rest of the record. She was just
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, no, I left, and it was very sad, but no,
Oh my goodness.
I would not be doing that.
Do you
Do
you feel comfortable
want-
telling us the contents of this package?
Yes, it is extremely expensive. Don't look it up
Okay.
because
Okay.
I honestly kind of feel a little silly that I spent this much money on it, but I also don't feel bad at all because I'm very excited. The jewelry brand that I love very much, that does the flat back earrings that have really changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
They are doing a Halloween advent calendar. It's only 6 days, but it also is in the most beautiful jewelry box I've ever seen in my life. That's like this big and coffin shaped.
Oh, I love that.
So not only are you getting 6 days of surprise jewelry that will not be available anywhere else, they did an advent calendar for Christmas last year. Again, it was very expensive, so I did not get it. But none of those pieces ever made it to the website. They were exclusive for this thing, and I regretted it ever since. And then this is the beautiful coffin-shaped jewelry box, and 6 days of Halloween jewelry, and I simply could not resist.
This is
It's
amazing.
coming, and I can't wait.
So when the package arrives, will you just open all 6, or are you gonna give yourself like a 6-day window?
I have yet to decide. If I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Game day decision.
Yeah, I feel like on the one hand, I think I want to do it like really savor the experience. On the other hand, I am a goblin with like immediate satisfaction brain, so I might just go crazy and open them all right then. Who can say?
Who can say? Who can say?
Yeah.
Who can never be sure?
No one.
I certainly can't, but I will tell you that I'm very, 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 very excited about this package arriving.
And it sounds to me like the coffin, the box that holds the jewelry, can be reused.
Yes, it is a jewelry box.
Okay.
And that you can the way that they have it set up is like I will send you guys pictures when it gets here, regardless, because it's going to be so... Again, it's a very large jewelry box with, like, lots of slots for rings. They also, because, again, like, who they are, they have an area where you can put in the flatbacks in the jewelry cup. So it is very specific to their jewelry, too, which I think is really neat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, today we are not talking about something specific. We are talking about something so ubiquitous that we have to do added legwork anytime we refer to the title of the media that we are discussing. This time, we are talking about the 1931 film Dracula, based on the novel of the same name by Bram Stoker, which we have just spent the last 2 weeks covering, and influenced by the 1924 stage play of the same name by Hamilton Dean, and the revised version for Broadway in 1927 by John Balderston. The film was adapted by Garrett Fort and directed by Tod Browning. Fort has been described as one of the preeminent horror film screenwriters of the classic era, while Browning has been strongly criticized for his interpretations of the script.
The film follows Count Dracula, a vampire who travels to London and preys upon living victims, particularly those associated with Dr. Seward's sanatorium adjoining Dracula's Carfax Abbey. Eventually, Dracula is confronted by the erudite Professor Van Helsing, who successfully vanquishes Dracula at the end of the film.
The portrayal of Count Dracula by Bela Lugosi is considered the iconic definition of Count Dracula and informs much of how we consider vampires in media. Combined with the release later in 1931 with Frankenstein, Universal Pictures established themselves as the forefront of the horror canon. What are your experiences with the 1931 film Dracula?
This was my first time seeing this film. As a reminder from our conversation of the novel, I have had no exposure to Dracula, except, cultural exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, me writing in the notes, Count Dracula, a vampire, did feel silly, but I felt like, we have to be descriptive. That's the whole point of the podcast. This is my first time seeing the film. I had a good enough time with it. I understand the things that are references, and as we will soon discuss, I was many a time shocked by this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in very much the same boat. I had thought that I had seen Frankenstein before we talked about it last year, but this one I was pretty sure I'd never seen the 1931 Dracula. And I had a good time with it. It is definitely a very interesting film.
Well, unlike you losers, I have seen this movie multiple times before.
Yes, incredible. Have you watched it in its disgustingly colorized version?
No, because I like
Oh.
having
Oh, thank
not
goodness.
seen
Okay.
that, and I don't want
Okay.
my memories of the black and white version tainted.
Okay, good choice. Good choice.
However, I have seen two different versions of this movie with like different musical scores.
Oh,
Um,
sure. I read
Yeah,
about
the-
this.
yeah, so
Yes.
so I guess the original didn't have an actual musical score. So the like different versions of it have come out with different people doing the score. My favorite one was Philip Glass did a version. So it's got like the repetitions in it and everything that Philip Glass is known for, which kind of like amps up the thrill of it all. But the version I watched for today's episode played like Swan Lake at the very start.
Mhm.
Okay, I think mine did too. I had to think about
Yeah.
it for a second.
But the score is mostly like there's music at certain points, like the beginning and the end, but it's mostly quiet, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the original score.
Mm-hmm. I will, however, say that throughout all of this, I've always thought that Bela Lugosi is the GOAT.
Oh,
when it
incredible.
comes to Dracula, David's got familiarity of Dracula probably from how successful the film was, and like you could really see why when you're watching this, even like almost 100 years after it was made. Like this guy just fucking had took the assignment and ran with it. Like he did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is truly like you might think that you know how good it is, but it is really like fucking good. Like you could see
Yeah.
why it became like the rendition of Dracula forever.
100%. This is what and I think when we were reading the novel and it was this like wispy mustached motherfucker, I was like, get out of here. You're not who I picture when I close my eyes. And Lugosi is so much of that when I even think about the caricatures that I am familiar with, they are borrowing and copying from this, whether it's the UN representative to Transylvania on 30 Rock, who I think was supposed to be a Count Dracula. I am, of course, familiar with Count Chocula, his native cousin, who served me delicious high fructose corn syrup, among other monster friends. So, I mean, but it's all sort of hearkening back to this more caped and effulgent version of Dracula.
The Count on Sesame Street.
The Count on Sesame Street, great example. That's one I'm familiar with, merrily.
Yeah.
Yes. I knew we'd find one. The thing is once you start peeling that onion, there's so much onion there.
Yeah, no, like Bela Lugosi's Dracula has steeped into the terroir of American media landscape. If you are thinking of a vampire or a Dracula, it's gonna be in relation to Bela Lugosi. Either it's part of the long cultural history of like him directly or in direct opposition. Like the vampires in 30 Days of Night, they're completely different because they're trying to reject the idea of the suave vampire in the vein of Bela Lugosi. Does that make sense?
It would if I was familiar with the reference, I'm certain. Yes.
I think it makes sense merely because the vampires of 30 Days of Night are very bestial, feral creatures, as opposed to the very pretty Bela Lugosi-esque Dracula.
Yeah, I think they're very specifically, they're like a more immediate backlash reaction to the Twilight vampires, but they are also borrowing from the legacy of Bela Lugosi in the suave idea of a pretty vampire.
Well, speaking of a pretty vampire, let's go ahead and jump into our themes, where our first point of discussion is I Feel Pretty, Oh So Pretty. In contrast with some of the depictions from the novel and starkly different from the 1922 German film Nosferatu, which was an unauthorized adaptation of the novel, the portrayal of Count Dracula in this film is attractive, seductive, and far less monstrous. As vampires would continue to be portrayed in media, this version sets the standard for their ethereal and really important beauty in contrast with their monstrous, ugly personas. How did we perceive Dracula and his appeal in this work versus what we experienced in Bram Stoker's novel?
Yeah, I think I never really got the sense that Dracula was hot in the novel. I got that he was hot for Jonathan Harker, but like same. We were all here for that. But I didn't get a sense that Dracula himself was particularly attractive. And that script has been flipped pretty significantly from like moment one of this film. And so I part of it is that Lugosi is just straight up handsome, but a lot of it is this how we're shooting the eyes, how he's posing. I mean, I love a man with a cape. I'm a simple person. I need
it's
simple
the
things.
ultimate accessory.
Truly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love a seductive Dracula. I do agree. Like, I think Bela Lugosi's like physical appearance is very attractive. And I think that is disarming for everyone because it doesn't really seem like of course, like Mina and Lucy are like, wow, Dracula, he's so exotic and attractive. But like everyone is kind of like a little bit into Dracula. There's a charisma about him that Lugosi really is able to like emit that I think is part of what makes it so like arresting visually when you see him on screen. And then Lugosi too is he just knows like how to work his face and how to work the lighting so that he knows like how can I look the most imposing possible.
Yeah, like this film has a lot of successes to me, but the number one thing is like Bela Lugosi's charisma and his uniqueness, nerve, and talent really like are the thing that make this movie like. He's not my favorite part of the film because I was a little bit more surprised and delighted by a different feature, but like the fact that he is there and like the way that he moves throughout the film, it's so iconic for a reason, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But there are some changes to the movie as well from the novel. So our next theme would be everything is a little different. So adapting this complicated novel of journal entries, letters, and newspaper articles is a challenge, and many things have changed in small ways and some significant ones. Harker's role is changed, the Demeter becomes the Vesta, and we swap garlic for wolfsbane. Were you struck by the changes in this film from the novel?
I mean, personally, I think knowing that the movie isn't a straight adaptation of the book versus it is a adaptation of a stage play, I think really explains a lot of the changes because it's a production. Somebody didn't want to say Demeter for whatever reason. So it's like, well, what's another god that we could use? So it was changed. My guess is they thought that Vesta from Roman mythology was the Greek version of Demeter, which is simply not true, by the way. And just like one goddess is the same for another, and like stuff like that. It can be changed down the line because you see actors have like a particular thing with the cast and that gets changed in the script and added to the next version and so on down the line. And other changes like Mina's relationship with Seward and all of that kind of stuff is adapted to make sure that you have all of the characters in the same place. Which again, last week I was talking about Dracula, a Comedy of Terrors. They had the same format still of Mina being the daughter of the owner of the lunatic asylum, and I think that's really funny as a continual legacy narrative of the stage play.
I do like Seward being older. I mean that is a change that surprisingly worked for me, just because then he became a contemporary of Van Helsing. Versus Van Helsing with like this hot suave doctor who is vying for the affection of Lucy. So then when you make somebody older, they have to be a parent because that's how characterization works when, you have to quickly communicate to the audience what's going on. Like Merrily, like the play part of all of this does help fill in some gaps. And I can understand like tossing communion wafers. That's fine. But some of the things I really just became baffled by because so much of the lore around the vampire and garlic was so ingrained that to then switch out for wolfsbane actually felt like a weird misstep compared to the garlic of everything.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think I think part of that is because the Wolfman was not out yet as a film. So
Mm.
like associating Wolfsbane with the Wolfman would have become more like in the popular consciousness versus garlic and
Mhm.
vampires. So they probably thought like, well, Wolfsbane sounds more sinister, so let's pair that up with a story of vampire. Um, so
Yeah.
I can see how that might work, and like that's like a shortcut for the audience, which it definitely would have come out in like a theatrical like concern. I think some other changes too. I actually like that Renfield is who is seduced by Dracula versus Harker.
I'm not
That is
ready
a
to talk about Renfield yet because I love him so much.
yeah,
So hold on.
I think it was a good choice though, and I think it also like it works later on when Dracula gets to England. I think the story does a better job of like communicating the whole Dracula's going to steal all the English women
Yes. Yes.
for
Yeah.
like a 1931 audience
Mhm.
here in the way that like the novels version of Dracula's going to steal all the English women worked for that audience. So like
Mhm.
it kind of
Mhm.
seems to change depending on the time period of the audience.
Well, in long and short, this film is about Dracula, and
Yeah.
the novel, frankly, Dracula was just there. It was only about Dracula in that he was a center conflict. Here,
Mhm.
this is the story of Dracula,
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
so a lot of service then goes towards that.
Can I take a half step back to talk about the Wolfsbane thing because I kind of have a conspiracy theory about this.
Hmm.
Because remember in our first episode, I talked about how this was pre the vampire werewolf divide,
Hmm.
because it was so early. I still think that hasn't happened yet, but I think that the reason why it's not garlic in this movie is you have to remember that this movie came out in the 30s. And we were enemies of the Italians that we know, like what? Garlic. Because
Hmm.
Mussolini and everything.
Hmm. Um,
Gar No, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't know. I think there was much more ubiquity of garlic than just Italy.
Okay.
Um,
But I will tell you, regardless of that, like my other thing is people know what garlic is,
mhm.
might not know what wolfsbane is, so then make it more magical and fantastical in that case.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, Spain sounds more magical and sinister and weird than garlic does. But you know what else sounds weird? Sounds.
Wow.
So
Wow. Incredible.
our third theme for today's episode is we have sound now. So, since the latter half of the 1920s, sound was introduced to films. Among the production team, off of his work on Showboat, was Jack Foley, the eponym for Foley artists, the people who make sound effects. So, Foley was directly responsible for providing the effective sounds which add to the horror and communicate the theme in much of the film. Did the sound effects stand out to you?
I will say yes. In particular because there was no orchestration
Yeah.
outside of the beginning and end. And so the only thing you have to listen to is this remarkably well made sound design. And this is the second film that Foley works on as a sound designer after Showboat. And he will go on to do this forever, and thus be named for the craft. He notably works on many other Universal monster picks except for Frankenstein. And I did not go back and watch Frankenstein for this, but I don't remember sound playing as much of a role, though I do remember orchestration playing much more of a role in Frankenstein than it did here in Dracula. And so I do think you need the bat noises and
Yeah.
you need everything in order to sell what's going on in this film. And so it is really cool to know that a person who like this would become an entire art form was right here at the beginning.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree completely. I did notice the sound work before I read these notes, and it was like the Foley worked on this. It was like a celebrity bat squeaks. He did it himself. I thought that the bats were great. Like there's a constant noise of things that I really appreciated in this movie.
I'll be honest, I didn't really notice the noise as much as the visuals.
Mm.
I'm sure like that is actually a credit to Foley though, because
Yes.
it was not like too much sound. It
Yes.
wasn't like I'm going to play with sound because it's the new toy and I can do whatever I want with it. Instead, like I think everything worked very well. I think it blended quite seamlessly in that case with the visuals, because I would notice like the visuals of like Dracula's castle and how ominous that felt, the way that
Mhm.
Dracula was framed as we like zoomed in on him in the undercroft of the castle. Like there were so many incredible things happening on screen that, you know, sound has to play a part in that. And I don't remember ever feeling like, oh, there's like that emptiness of sound that's just because like they didn't think to add sound here.
Right.
Everything felt very like real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we're not here to talk about what's real. We're here to talk about what's scary. So we ask 2 questions of every media we consider here for the podcast. And the first of those is it horror? Is 1931's Dracula a horror entry for us to consider?
I think it is.
Yeah.
You think a Universal monster picture should be considered horror?
Yeah, like the
Controversial.
Dracula adaptation?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is breaking news. Water is also wet.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. And while I loved Lugosi and I love what we've already said about him, and I know and I hope that we will say more things, he was unnerving, but maybe never scary.
Mhm.
Scary. For that, we have to turn to Dwight Fry, who I recognized from Frankenstein as Fritz. The shots and performance of him as Renfield was horror in a way that I truly wasn't expecting in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is my favorite part of this movie by a considerable margin, actually. I really love the work that was put into Renfield here. And he honest to God, I got a jump scare out of this movie just based on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. I think Fry stands out to me as like the source of terror in this movie, because exactly the same reason you said, David. He like Lugosi is really like ominous. But
Yes.
he's never like I'm not like jump out of my seat afraid of him in the same way that Fry's rendition of Renfield is so like manic and intense, and like he's always like one emotion to another. And the way that he's able to like use his body to communicate that and use his face to communicate that is so incredibly effective.
Yes.
I think terrific job. Like for so much of the movie, I think it is like when Fry enters the scene, he like eats up all the oxygen in the room. Like
100%.
Agreed. But I don't remember, and I know we talked about him a little bit when we talked Frankenstein. I don't remember him having as much presence in Frankenstein as Fritz. I thought he was good, and he stole the wrong brain. He was the conflict motivator, but I don't remember him like stealing scenes. And there are times when we are with the Seward family, and I'm like, everyone else, leave the set. There's only one person I'm interested in right now, and it's Renfield.
yeah.
And I was not rewarded. Unfortunately, we have to do so much with Jonathan Harker in this movie.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I had no idea we were all on the same page about that.
Oh yeah. No, we'll get to it. But like just us talking about it, I'm reminded viscerally of Diva Month all over again. Like what is the point of having all of these other people on screen? We're waiting for the divas, being Bela Lugosi and this Renfield character, to come back. Yes, and truly not sharing a lot of time together on the screen.
Right.
We get it
Not
in the beginning,
nearly enough.
and we get it at the end. And then we get one scene where they're not even together. They have chemistry. They're far apart and still have chemistry together. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's a love story.
It is a love story.
Speaking of love stories and chemistry, there's the other question that we have to ask, and it's got to be, is like, can we consider this film in the lens of queer theory? Is this a queer horror film?
Yes.
I mean, okay, so yes, and we've been doing it all month long. It's Dracula. So Dracula is gay. All vampires are kind of gay. I'm gonna be the wet blanket at first, and then we can talk about better things. Van Helsing should be gayer, just like on spec. Just on spec. We talked about vampire hunters being gay for all the way back in Banicula, because we talked about the cat being Van Helsing and being gay. Chester. But here, this Van Helsing, it's worse than the book. It's worse than the guy who was doing the terrible accent in the book that I hated. I didn't like Van Helsing in this, and I think it's because he was too straight. I think he was just too much of the status quo. He wasn't bringing me any of the queerness that I desire from this character and this relationship with Dracula.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
here's my thing. Honestly, I think this film could be a lot gayer. I do think Renfield works as an incredible queer hero, but and we're gonna talk about it in a second. But I think the movie on the whole is really depressingly heterosexual in a real bummer of a way. I think that the only man that Dracula is ever interacting with is Renfield. All of his other victims that we see are women in a really boring way. It's just, where's the subtext? I think it's the problem is that none of the other men are real characters either. They're all just kind of flat props that move from scene to scene saying dialogue while we wait for Renfield and Dracula and Van Helsing, who's again depressingly heterosexual, to like finish saying their things, and so we can go back to them. It's just could be gayer.
It could certainly be gayer, but I think Renfield is our queer hero, and I think he has a unfortunately toxic one-sided relationship with Dracula, where Dracula is like a narcissist, and he is just like sucking the life out of people to nourish himself. And when he's done with you, he's done with you. So you're either dead or you have been tossed away. And I think Renfield is our tossed away, poor ghosted Renfield.
Yeah, I was about to say, Drac ghosts our guy for most of the novel or most of the film, really just leaving him on red. And Renfield like wants this connection and then strives to be dutiful when he finally gets it. There is a big, like, I don't know, pick me gay energy to Renfield. It's sad. I wish he wasn't. But here's the deal, is I guess this sort of is Renfield's backstory, because in the novel, he's already Looney Tunes committed to Dracula. So we never saw how that ever came to be. And one of the things that I guess the novel does is fill in some of that the film does is fill in some of that for us.
Yeah, because he was already a zoophage before Dracula ever showed up in the novel. This time, the fact that he is eating bugs is tied directly into this connection that he has with Dracula. Like, Van Helsing can like see whatever vampire business is in his blood. He is the two of them are linked in a really fun way. But like Renfield gets killed like haze coded at the end of this movie. He is a queer hero.
Yeah. It's a bummer because it feels like this movie is like a foretelling of what is to come with Hays Code stuff.
Yeah, for real.
And
we are like at the doorstep, right? This is about to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because we had James Whale's Frankenstein, which was pre-Hays Code, but then also had to have edits put in place for the Hays Code.
Yep.
And so, like, the whole thing with throwing the girl into the lake, that is a pre-Hays Code thing, and they changed that in post Hays Code. But here, like, it feels like we don't get to see so many different things, like Dracula actually biting into people's necks or Dracula getting killed. And these all feel like Hays Code choices, especially everything that happens with Lucy, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, then, are we ready to dive into the beat by beat of 1931's Dracula?
Dracula, please let us proceed into the plot beat by beat.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I loved that. Well, the film begins in a carriage bound for Borgo Pass, in which a young man rides to meet Count Dracula. There is great concern among the villagers that Dracula and his wives are vampires. But the young man writes this off as superstition. A villager offers the young man a crucifix. In the undercroft of the castle Dracula, hands emerge from coffins and Count Dracula is revealed. Wow, it would really suck to be hearing an ad right now. If you want to enjoy an ad-free listening experience, you can join the Fear Coded Patreon at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to early and ad-free episodes on your very own podcast feed. And extra bonus content begins at $3 a month. So consider joining today at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast. Now, don't worry, we aren't going to start hawking harmful teletherapy programs created by obscene tech bros, but if you would like to skip ads just like this one, you can join the Fear Coded Patreon at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast and support queer artists for as little as $1 a month. But now, back to the horrors. So here's the deal. This is wildly faithful to the novel that we just read as Harker's story of coming to Castle Dracula, which was it ever called Castle Dracula in the novel or
No.
Okay, well then whatever. Coming to the castle that Dracula owns. So I liked this. I loved these Hungarian women who I think were supposed to try. I think we were pretending that this was a different part of the world, but whatever, it's fine. They were foreign. It's a 1931 audience. Who's going to know? I love the handoff of the cross. It is like word for word what Jonathan Harker wrote in his journal, For Your Mother's Sake. I loved all of that. And then, y'all, this Undercroft scene was so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was delicious.
Oh,
Like,
I loved this.
it was so creepy as fuck. Like it felt like the sort of German expressionism of like just the darkness and the way the pale hand emerges from the dark, and then like we just have this like slow but very intense zoom on Dracula and his stare. It just oh my god, amazing introduction to this character.
Yeah.
And I love that we see like one of the wives we get to see like creep up from her coffin. Like she sits up in it. But Dracula, we never deal with anything so mundane as him getting out of the coffin. It's a shot of a coffin and then he's there and he's like fabulous.
Yeah. They do a lot of really interesting stuff with Dracula moving around in the movie, because sometimes he's just there. And it starts right from here. And the thing about this film is that the set and atmosphere and vibe, for a better word, of this film is honestly unmatched. And like right from the get-go in this Undercroft, we see where the baseline, how awesome it's going to be. And like we keep returning to incredible set designs like this throughout.
Yeah.
It just goes so hard.
It goes so hard.
Oh my god, yeah.
And like credit where it's due, and we talked about this when we talked Frankenstein too. Like Universal was very good at this, but the painted background that they were also using was also very, very good. And any time they were using a painted background, it looked fantastic.
Like the first time I put the movie on, I hit play, and the first thing we get is this amazing painted backdrop as the camera zooms in on the carriage, and I gasped because it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So this beautiful, naive young man rides on to the Borgo Pass, where he meets another carriage and rides to Castle Dracula. At one point of time, he tries to talk to the driver, only to see the carriage being led by a giant bat. Incredibly realistic looking bat. No notes whatsoever. It was definitely not just a big rubber bat on a string that was being bobbed up and down. At the castle, the driver has vanished, but the young man enters and walks around the castle before meeting Count Dracula, who welcomes and recognizes the young man as Renfield.
Okay, no, gagged to all heavens on this one.
Same. I was like, I gasped out loud. I was gooped, gagged, shocked. Like this was a reveal, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And it works.
It works. It works so well. It does work so well. I loved Harker's whole situation in the novel, but I think it is much more important for this film to do a little bit of table setting with Renfield.
Yes.
And using the sort of Harker experience and making Renfield be the solicitor is so good. It's in the next scene, but I love that also like this movie is like You have to sign these papers and then you instantly can teleport to London. Like, let's not even fuck around here in Transylvania. Let's get out of here. That's fun enough. I don't mind it. The other thing that gagged me, though, is y'all, I was waiting. I know that there is a thing Dracula says, and it's permit me to introduce myself. And I waited with bated breath. And Count Dracula does not say that in this film. I am getting that from another Dracula property that has somehow seeped into my mind. And so here we are. We read the novel. We've watched the Universal Pictures film, and no Count Dracula has asked for permission to introduce himself. But I am eager to eventually find out when that happens.
Permit me to introduce myself. Watch begins now, day 1.
Wow.
You need to let us know what that ends up being. Or, listener, if you happen to know, please let us know.
Yeah. I mean, but I was just waiting for it because I think that in my mind, I pictured Bela Lugosi saying it. And I watched the film twice. He does not in this film. I was really, really surprised.
Well, don't worry. Bela Lugosi plays Dracula a lot more times. So
great.
The line is still out there waiting for you. You know what also really gooped and gagged me from this section? There's a little scene where when Renfield is walking into the castle and we see some armadillos running past. Armadillos?
Right?
Very silly. It made me laugh so hard.
They're vermin, though. I when I see an armadillo, I think of it on the same level as a rat.
Oh, I find them very cute.
Oh, well, people also like rats, and find them very cute. But I consider them to be vermin.
Goodness. I mean, they can transmit leprosy, so like, watch out.
Oh, yikes!
So can I.
What? Oh
what?
dear!
You can't.
What?
I just think Renfield being here is neat. At the end of the day. I'll say this much. I also think like Dwight Fry's like ability to express so many different emotions on his face is so wonderful. Like I was kind of wondering like if he worked in like the silent films because he could communicate so much with just what he's doing with his face. Very theatrical sort of person. And I think that is essential for Renfield because Renfield is so much like 11 out of 10 at all times.
Yes.
Even when he's acting like mundane. So I think Fry's performance here is really wonderful. It also does come across to me. I didn't do the good podcaster thing and look more into Dwight Fry as a person, but his performance and his persona kind of comes across as queer to me. And so it did make me kind of think like, oh man, I've known this person. This is such like a pick-me gay. Like he really wants Dracula's affection, is just ignoring all of the red flags, of which there are many.
Oh, yeah. So many.
Well, here's the deal though. I didn't really clock this as Fry the same. Like I did not say, oh yes, this was the assistant from Frankenstein until he's like aboard the Vestra. And then I knew. But here, every time I looked at this young man playing, who I thought was Harker and then who was revealed to be Renfield, I saw a young Matthew Broderick because he is eager, he is bright-eyed, he is innocent. Don't take my luggage down. I'm going on. This is just superstition. How dare you? I'm going to do a musical with Nathan Lane. Like that was everything I was getting from this young man.
I could totally see that now.
Yeah. I'm going to marry Sarah Jessica Parker. This I know very little other Matthew Broderick trivia. I was in Inspector Gadget.
Ferris Bueller.
Ouch. Yes. Whoops. Wow. Come
like
for
the
me,
biggest
Gen
Matthew
X.
Broderick thing besides the producers, maybe.
I'm so sorry. I was like crying laughing at that. Jesus. Oh boy. I simply can't continue in this space anymore. Oh my god. That took me out at the knees, my man. You're right, and I wish that you hadn't said it.
Sorry. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Upstairs, Dracula welcomes Renfield into a warm and comforting bedroom where a meal is laid out for him. Dracula reveals that he has a ship chartered which will take them to London tomorrow evening. Renfield cuts himself on a paperclip, which leads to Dracula stalking towards him, but the crucifix falls out of Renfield's pocket and repels Dracula. Dracula offers him a very old wine, which Renfield drinks. Renfield goes to look out the window, seeing a giant bat before he collapses. The three wives approach him, but Dracula enters and they retreat. Dracula leans in close to Renfield, and the scene fades out.
Yeah, I mean, I loved all this. I love, by the way, this might be my favorite set, truly and honestly, because the candles are practical and they are doing a lot of fun lighting techniques. Like, I can't believe that the entire set didn't go up in flames just because there was a lot of like live fire on this set.
Don't worry, everything was probably painted in asbestos.
Yeah, we're fine. Good.
Yeah,
good.
Totally,
That's good.
Totally cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You speaking of pick me gays, ignoring red flags, can you imagine? I trust that you told no one you were coming. Oh well, I followed all of your instructions implicitly. Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've said that on a grinder date. I know what he's in for. For me, my favorite line of this little sequence was, "I don't drink wine." The pause in my mind is so much longer than the pause actually on the film, but it was a long pause. It was like, huh, get it, because I'm gonna drink blood. I drink blood because I'm a vampire. Get it?
Oh yeah.
And then Renfield just like, wow, good one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I will drink it, even though it's maybe drugged. I did have a little bit of trouble understanding why Renfield collapsed, because it seems a little bit like it's the bat, but maybe it was the wine was spiked, or por qué no los dos? You know,
Yeah,
who
I
knows?
think it's a little bit of dose.
Yeah.
Column A, little column B. Here's the thing. By taking over the Harker role in the narrative, he also became the tragic heroine. And when you're a tragic heroine, you collapse sometimes, and that's why Renfield's so queer in this film.
That's fair. That's fair.
Makes sense to me.
It would really help our long-standing thesis of the podcast if he had collapsed on a fainting couch. But alas, no such device available to him.
One of these days, someone will do it.
Yeah, I hope so.
I do think that this like performance by Lugosi is kind of like meet him on the stairwell and then the bedroom, I think, is where like the most iconic aspects of the Lugosi performance are set up.
Yes.
And so, like, because like later on, it's really just kind of like Dracula's there, and his physical presence alone is enough to be like, wow, this guy, incredible. But I think like the I don't drink wine thing is like, and then a couple other bits too. Like there's the whole like Children of the Night with the music they make. And,
yes. Oh, incredible.
yeah, like so many just wonderful moments are happening here. And Lugosi does such a fantastic job.
Now the wives. This is a wrap on the wives, by the way. This is they do this and then they're gone.
Yeah, the big waste of wives.
I know. I was so disappointed.
It's kind of like they're just sort of like, I do appreciate their creepiness in that they show up and move in sync and don't say anything.
Yes.
I find that very eerie. But then they're gone, and it's so sad because like they could come back.
I'd love to have more visual imagery of them just like synchronized walking, because I will say that the synchronized retreating, I think, was the scariest part of the wives for me, because it was kind of eerie watching them walk backwards without like looking where they were going, scared at the very sight of Dracula. And then he's like, I'm going to ship me and 3 boxes on this boat that I chartered. And I was like, oh, cool. The wives are coming with us to London, and that they may do, but we shall not see them, because unlike the novel, they do not show up in a final confrontation at the end. It's just Dracula.
Yeah, that was my exact like reaction to that as well. It was just like, ooh, the wives are coming, and then The wives aren't here. Never mind.
Yeah, they got lost. Oh, you know, when you order a package and then it just doesn't make it to its final destination, you got to go to one of those lockers to like get it out of hock. And so Dracula just didn't have time.
Not Marilee, though. Marilee's package will arrive perfectly on time and together and at your door.
The paranoia of, is my package? Like, I'm literally checking it right now.
Oh my gosh. Marilee, pay attention.
Well, aboard a ship at sea, Renfield has changed. Subservient to Dracula, who he awakens with the setting of the sun, he has been loyal to his master and asks for lives in return. Sometime later, the ship has made it to shore, and all of the crew is dead, with the harbor master only finding a laughing Renfield. A news clipping tells us that he has cravings for devouring ants, flies, and other small living things, and that he has been taken for observation at Dr. Seward's sanatorium.
Okay, first I want to say that the ship sequences were pulled from the Universal silent film The Stormbreaker, which accounts for why they are all sped up and wild looking when we are getting pictures of the sailors.
Mm-hmm.
I could have lost that, if I'm being honest.
It's barely in there. It really didn't make any impact for me. But you know what did make an impact for me? Renfield, here he is. Like that first shot of him like caressing the box that Dracula's in and being like, Master, it's almost sunset. You can't hear me, but Master, I'm telling you, it's almost time. Like immediately it was like, oh, we're different. And then, you know how I talked about how this movie jump scared me earlier? This is it. When they look down in the hold and Renfield just has both hands on the side of like the hull and like staring up at everybody. I legit was like, whoa. The sailors or whoever is seeing the boat, they're like, oh my God, look at his eyes. He's crazy. I was like, yeah, no, he is crazy. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a really masterful shot. It's so good. Like the really stereotypical British like guards being like, he's mad. He's right mad out of he is. Like, I think takes away a little bit of it, but like the overall like expression and body work by Fry. Like,
yeah, how did he do that with his face?
Incredible. Like incredible work. Like Renfield really does feel like if Dracula is our like main character, Renfield really is like our side character.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this made me excited about a film that was all about Renfield. Of course, that the titular Renfield film is drastically different than the source material, but I'd love more about Renfield, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But this Renfield, we need to invent time travel to get this man to play more Renfield.
Yeah, I mean, or Rami Malek, who can also do this with his eyeballs, where they just like pop out of his skull, because that's part of what it makes this face so scary, is that he went from being Matthew Broderick to being Rami Malek, and it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Rami Malek, come on the pod.
Yeah, talk to me about your face. That seems rude. Talk to me about whatever you want, but I have questions about your face.
Yeah, certainly. Very toxic relationship with Dracula. I feel like it doesn't need to be said, but let's go ahead and say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just he really wants Dracula's like validation so fucking bad, and it's like, Mama, I've been there.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
Yeah. So what is it just the usual power that Dracula holds over others? Or is this truly like, I'm delaying your transformation into a child of the night so that I can have a pawn with which to enact my will in the times of day? Like, because it always felt like Renfield had never really made it to... He was never the Bloomfer lady or whatever the fuck that was called. He was never the lady in white. He was never an actual vampire, but he does want to eat life. He wants to find blood, almost as a psychological condition of feeling indentured to Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do know that there is at least something physical happening to him because of that blood scene later. But honestly, this movie invents hypnotism powers for Dracula. So I kind of just thought that like the way that this, like Renfield, he was hypnotized so much that his mind kind of broke.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of see that too. I think like part of the magic that Dracula can do if he bites you is that he infects you with the vampirism, and the vampirism is a magical curse. So he can just do things like make you like my slave.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not even just if he bites people, because we saw him do that to, like, in a few scenes, we're going to talk about him doing that to, like, the stewardess in the opera. He just tells her that, to do something and then forget about it.
I think that's like a little bit of like a charm effect. Like if this were D&D, like a charm effect versus more of like a high level vampiric ability that vampires can do.
Maybe, who could say? This movie really plays loosey-goosey on the vampire rules, which I do appreciate.
Very true.
What's funny is that is both true, and yet this is so formative to everything that will then come. And so we're on some shaky ass ground, and then a lot of things will end up evolving from this, to the point that I was even getting sort of, is Renfield in a What We Do in the Shadows world? Is Renfield sort of Dracula's familiar? Is this somebody who is eager to become a vampire and is being a willing servant with the promise of that to come? Because that's some of the vibe I'm getting off Renfield, is that there's this promise that Dracula will fulfill for him. But you know what?
Yeah.
Dracula never will fulfill that. So sorry, boo-boo Rennie.
Yeah. You need to get a boyfriend who appreciates you for you, instead of holding out on a promise from a decade ago.
Yeah, and you need to be in a different film than this one, because there are no eligible bachelors for you in this movie. But in London, Count Dracula comes upon a flower girl, and he kills her before going to the symphony. He hypnotizes a maid to summon Dr. Seward away from his seat, and uses that as an opportunity to introduce himself, and Dr. Seward, in turn, introduces his daughter Mina, Mr. Harker, and Lucy. As the symphony begins, Dracula leers at Lucy. Back at home, Mina and Lucy discuss Count Dracula, both of them enraptured by him. Dracula stalks outside and looks up at Lucy in her window. Later, a bat appears at the window, and then Dracula is inside her room. He leans in close to her neck, and the scene transitions to a surgical theater where Lucy is declared dead after receiving multiple transfusions, another in a series of deaths where two strange marks had appeared on the victims' necks.
Poor Lucy.
Poor Lucy.
What the fuck? I was like, what? This was half the novel?
Yeah.
Like the better half of the novel.
This is where we stopped reading in our first episode. And she's just like, she's like she dies in the fade between two scenes.
Mm-hmm. I was confused, honestly. Like I figured it was someone else on the table in the surgical theater, and it's like, nope, it's Lucy.
Well,
yeah,
she had to die. I understand that. And the film is like 74 minutes long, so there's not a lot of space here, but I do feel like we could have had less Van Helsing and a little more Lucy, and I would have been happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about something that you said in your screen description here? You said that both Lucy and Mina were enraptured by the Count. Is that how you read that? Because I kind of felt like Lucy really likes the Count, but Mina was kind of gently making fun of her friend for her crush. I didn't think that Mina liked Dracula all that much from this little bit of a scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I read it.
Oh, okay. Because like the way that, like, it's very obviously Lucy has a crush on Dracula, and I think that that's very cute. And like the way that she Mina calls her like Countess as she goes to bed, because she sees this eligible guy and she wants him, and Mina is talking about how she wants Jonathan, her fiance, instead. I thought.
Yeah, but they're both being very admiring. I'm sorry, if you read enraptured to mean in love with, then perhaps I used the wrong word. But they are both obsessed with Dracula. They are obsessed with talking about his wealth, what he does, who he is. It is their main topic of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Lucy is just like, oh, I could be like the future Mrs. Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that is definitely the case. And then Mina is more like, oh, well, like, good for you. I've got Jonathan, so I'm happy. But yeah, that Dracula, wowee, he is an attractive stranger from the East. Yeah. Like, definitely, like, I think you both are correct. I think it's both. It's just like a mixture of both both is true.
Mm.
But either way, like I do find like that I think is fun, but it is also more of the like we're starting to turn Lucy away from being like pure and virginal, and now she's starting to talk about like, oh, I would love a husband, and that was not the Lucy from the novel. So we're losing the angel of the house.
Yes,
I feel.
yes,
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
Both of these characters are not who they were in the novel whatsoever, but their
Yeah.
only topic of conversation is this new man who they've met.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
In this scene, there's a shot that I actually really appreciated and liked very much, where it's Mina and Lucy are talking to each other, and we see them in the reflection of a mirror. I have no idea how they accomplished that without seeing the camera in the shot in the 30s. I thought that was a really cool technical achievement, but also it did make me laugh a little bit because this is one of the first scenes with the two of them, and it's like, if there's one thing you should know about these besties is that they have visible reflections.
Yeah,
That is important.
we are going to play with that in a few scenes. So it is. I mean, it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. I also like being informed that people on my screen have reflections.
Yes.
That is important.
Inside Seward's sanitarium, Renfield moans the loss of the spider. Elsewhere, Van Helsing tells Seward and other colleagues that the attacks are from a vampire. It seems like they suspect Renfield of being said vampire, who Van Helsing and Seward invite for an interview. He is lucid for a moment before his personality shifts and then shifts again. He repeatedly expresses concern only for Mina's health. Van Helsing produces a sprig of wolfsbane, which causes a reaction in Renfield. Van Helsing insists that Renfield be watched day and night, especially at night. Dracula appears in Mina's room and drinks from her.
Yeah, throughout the notes I'm putting wolfsbane because that is the actual name of the flower, but I swear to God, every time they said it, it was wolfbane. Or maybe that was just the accent work of Van Helsing.
Yeah, he's pretty much the only person who says it, and I do think he says wolfbane every time.
Okay, that makes me feel a little. I obviously couldn't have captions, but I felt like I was going out of my mind because I was like, this is not what this is called, and it's supposed to be garlic, you monsters.
How dare you? I'm gonna be real. I do like Van Helsing in the sense that he is basically every like professor of the supernatural that we see going
That's true.
forward. Like Giles is informed by
Yes.
Van Helsing. Like this is setting the standard in the same way that Bela Lugosi sets the standard for all Draculas going forward. So I like that. I also do like that he kind of looks like Sigmund Freud. Because it is kind of like a good shorthand to be like, he is European and he is smart and he is a professor.
Well, and I'm also glad you brought it up because I do think that in credit to Van Helsing, who, while I didn't like, I do buy into Tyler's statement here. I do think it does set the standard, and I do like that standard, and I like what it becomes. But I do also appreciate that what the film is doing, we are paying attention to these like ludicrous glasses on Van Helsing as a way to show who he is through his eyes as well. And that is a nice balance between them.
Interesting.
If I'm being real, and this is such a bizarre pool that I don't know if anyone else has ever thought this, but Van Helsing's like physical appearance reminds me so much of Bato from Ghost in the Shell. Just like they both are like kind of square heads, white hair, and Bato's got tiny little like implants over his eyes that are tiny little circles in the same way that Van Helsing has tiny little circle glasses. And yeah, I think this is a totally original Tyler thought. No one has ever thought before. But I'm going to stick with it and stand by it.
Is there any obviously Ghost in the Shell comes after this. I felt pretty confident at the beginning of that statement and then became a lot less confident at the end. But I feel I do think that I'm correct in this. Ghost in the Shell comes after this. Do you think there's anything to say that there's like character reference there? Oh, okay.
No,
Well then.
None whatsoever. I think it's just me picking out two totally random things and being like, hey, they look similar. Hey, pyramids are in both Mexico and Egypt, therefore
wow, there are aliens.
Did both. Aliens did Bato and Van Helsing.
Wow,
from 1931's Dracula.
Wow. Yes, good. Ghost in the Shell 1995. Incredible that I thought that these might be even close together.
Only 60 years.
Yeah.
I got really worried though.
In that first scene with Renfield and the attendant, at the end of the fight, he says, "All right, have it your way." And I had the weirdest Lighthouse flashbacks.
Oh yeah, he's given Wiki. I guess that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And there were many Lighthouse wikis in England during this time, just as a fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of a neat connection between the book and the movie with regards to Mina, in that everyone still loves Mina. Like, everyone is still like a huge Mina fan. Mina is the best, to the point that even Renfield is just like, the only thing I really care about and can break through Dracula's curse on me is Mina and the well-being of Mina, and I will actually stand in the way of Dracula in Mina's defense, which I think is neat. I think that's another like fun continuation of like, how can we mix together like the angel of the house and the new woman? Oh, well, let's make it Mina, but Mina is also kind of taking a lot of aspects from Lucy in this regard too, and that everyone really fucking loved Lucy. And everyone wants to do everything for Lucy. Everyone wants to do everything for Mina.
Yeah.
So sometime later, Mina is wearing a scarf and telling of the horrors that she experienced the night before. Van Helsing investigates Mina and finds a puncture wound under her scarf. Count Dracula comes to call, where he meets Van Helsing. While Dracula talks to Lucy, Van Helsing investigates the mirror of a cigarette box, where he sees that Dracula casts no reflection. Van Helsing now knows the identity of the vampire who is attacking others. Van Helsing attempts to confront Dracula with the mirror, but Dracula breaks the mirror, citing superstition before excusing himself.
Okay, this is where things got a little screwball goofy.
Yeah.
It's our man Van Helsing just doing the wildest double take at this mirror that I know was necessary to communicate to the audience what was happening. And is surprising, because on the stage play, they used a full-length mirror to achieve this exact same thing by changing the sightline of where the actor for Dracula stood so that the audience could only see the actress instead of the actress and the actor playing Dracula. And so you don't need as big of a reaction, but we are doing a zoom in on the cigarette box like mirror, and I just didn't need this to be so big.
No.
And like multiple times done.
Multiple times. Van Helsing, a literal expert on vampires, is like, did I just see that? Let me go back a fourth or fifth time to be sure.
Just in case. You never know.
Yeah. And speaking of screwball comedies, all of them standing around talking to each other and saying, "What could have possibly caused them, Professor?" And then a servant walking in and announcing, "Count Dracula?" Very funny. Very funny.
That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was definitely like the theatrical origins coming through here. We're gonna set everything in like this one scene, this one set. It's in like a living room space. I feel like a lot of screwball, early modern, well, not early modern, but early 20th century, kind of theatrical things take place in that kind of situation and setting. Because it's kind of like a social comedy of errors, and like, what's the biggest error than not being able to show up in a mirror at a guest's house?
Yeah.
Talk about a social faux pas.
Yeah, the Neil Simon writes itself there, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
I wish Neil Simon had written a vampire play. That would be incredible.
I would have been into that. I do have to say, though, I do have some issues with the character of Jonathan Harker that are starting to come to the fore here. I think Harker is a little ancillary. Like, I don't think he's that important. I think by having Renfield take over for Harker as the person to go visit Dracula and get attacked by him, Harker ends up being just kind of like there. Like, now his personality is, I am Mina's fiance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like, this is the guy who shows up in this movie might be named Jonathan Harker, but that's not my friend Jonathan. Like, he's just there. What a great way to put it. Like, he's standing around talking with like the medical men? Is he supposed to be a doctor? Is he just there because he is going to take possession of Mina as her husband as opposed to her father? And like, so he has say over what's going on with her. Like, I don't know why he's here or what he's doing in this movie, but I don't like it.
I think you kind of nailed it, honestly, Marilee. Like, I think he is there to be Mina's representative and speak on her behalf because she is the emotional victimized woman, and this is 1931, so the husband is the one who gets to speak for her.
But I would have even appreciated like a little bit of romanticism from Jonathan towards Mina, because he doesn't even seem to particularly like her all that much.
I mean, I think you're supposed to understand that he likes her, but they just don't have any chemistry because Jonathan doesn't have he's a walking like cardboard sign. I don't know what he's doing, why he's here, but I don't like it. And this is why people don't like Jonathan Harker. This is why every adaptation doesn't do him justice, because this first one from the cultural osmosis has him be completely useless, lifeless, no point to him, and that's why people don't appreciate my friend Jonathan, which is a shame.
No, crazy enough, I think the only versions of Jonathan Harker I've seen that I think do a good job of making him be a character are Nosferatu adaptations, where I think the original Nosferatu, like, I haven't seen that one in a very long time, but I don't remember Harker being like a very big presence in that. It's really kind of Count Orlok's show. But in the Werner Herzog Nosferatu adaptation, Harker is a big major character in that. It's really kind of like a 3-act or a 3-character show with that one, where it's Orlok, Harker, and then Lucy Harker, because they did like a character name swap around, and then Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. I think that is actually the best version of Bram Stoker's Jonathan Harker on screen. I think that one does the best job of it.
Shout out to Nicholas Hoult, who's played both Renfield and Jonathan Harker. What a man.
Like in the last 5 years, too.
Well, and then just for the ongoing struggle that was Browning's direction of this film and all the things that he was responsible for, the casting of Jonathan Harker was a little bit of a nightmare. Originally, Lou Ayres was selected to play Harker. Then he was replaced due to a scheduling conflict because the director didn't think to ask. With Robert Ames. Robert Ames had to be replaced because he was getting a divorce, which you can't do while working in Hollywood in the 30s. And that is how we got David Manners, who was the Harker that we see here.
Yeah, R.I.P. David Manners. I'm sure you were a nice guy. Horrible Jonathan Harker.
Yeah. Well, in the next scene, Van Helsing drops his deep vampire lore for Seward and Harker. While the boys are talking, Mina walks outside and is embraced by Dracula. Renfield enters the room, having overheard the men talking. He offers dire warnings of Mina, and he begs Harker to take her away. Just then, a maid enters, crying that Mina is outside. Seward, Van Helsing, and Harker rush outside, and Renfield, remaining, laughs maniacally, scaring unconscious the maid as he creeps towards her. Van Helsing says Mina is under Dracula's influence.
Renfield breaks out of his cell way too often.
Oh my god, right? Like, is that man super slippery? Does he have, like, rubber bones? Like, how is he slipping out of these things?
I assume that the entire sanatorium is like an honor code situation. This is like a bed and breakfast for people who just need a little bit of extra help from Seward.
Honestly, yeah, that seems pretty legit, because otherwise, how is this man casually walking to every other fucking conversation?
Anytime the boys are talking, Renfield is just outside, ready to come on stage.
He's waiting in the wings.
A lot of straight up open doors too for a sanatorium. Like,
yeah,
get it together, people. Locks do exist. We've had them for a while now. But yeah, I think like we get some really great visuals in this scene as well. Like, Marilee, I know you wanted to talk about one of these visuals in particular.
Yes. So that scene where Dracula is outside and Mina goes out to him, like, the visuals on this slap so hard because, like, it's a very dark frame, but you can see that white, like, shirt and, like, white tie and Dracula's face with that his cape being held up, and Mina just like walks into his arms. It looks so cool.
Yeah, really great shot. It felt very like an excellent use of the monochrome black and white of it all. Like Dracula, and that's also like a good visual metaphor too for what Dracula is doing. Like he is enveloping Mina in his thrall, and we're concerned that it's going to become like a Renfield situation for her.
Yeah.
Or worse, like we've seen the brides for however brief it was. And like the way that Mina is walking towards him under this spell, it's the exact same way the brides walk around. So in the night, Lucy walks through a park to the sound of a sobbing child. The meaning is made clear, like what has happened, when an orderly reads a newspaper about a beautiful woman in white that has been attacking children. Thank God she's not a blooper lady. They just call her a woman in white. Van Helsing is questioning Mina about the woman in white. When she last saw Lucy, Mina tells a story of encountering Lucy even though she knows that she's dead. Van Helsing promises to release her soul tonight, which will also save Mina. Van Helsing has protected Mina's room with wolfsbane and made a wreath for her to wear. Van Helsing intends to find Dracula and kill him, ending this whole affair.
Again, I'm just going to say, I almost didn't even clock that this was Lucy. I only really knew it because I read the novel.
Yeah.
Because I think it's too far away for me to really get the sense that this is not supposed to be Mina. And sort of Mina's dialogue maybe reinforces that the person I saw was supposed to be Lucy. I think as a audience in 1931, I would have been kind of confused about what was going on here, which is a bummer because a woman walking through a public area and biting children on the neck should be scary, but I have more questions than I have answers, and that I can't be scared while I'm confused.
Yeah,
it is quite puzzling because Stoker had it right in the novel that Lucy dies. We have like a lot of foreshadowing for what's going to happen next. There's like a couple like selections of letters from people talking about unrelated Lucy things, and then it's like news bulletin: a bloofer lady is stalking Whitby. Like, that is fine, but it feels like we've had so much movie between when Lucy died and now.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why are we even doing this? Like, the movie could be even shorter technically if we just cut this out, or why haven't we done the whole Lucy thing way earlier? Because then that informs the threat of what could happen to Mina.
Yeah.
Renfield interrupts the men during their plans to kill Dracula. He relates the promise that Dracula manifested in the lives of rats. Hundreds, thousands of rats. Alone, Dracula confronts Van Helsing, who promises to put a stake through his heart. Dracula attempts to hypnotize Van Helsing, but Van Helsing's will is too strong. Van Helsing produces a crucifix, and Dracula is repelled. Upstairs, Mina has removed her wreath and opened the windows. She tells Harker that she feels wonderful. She looks lecherously at his neck. A bat appears and Mina talks with it. She compels Harker to take Van Helsing's crucifix before she attacks Harker.
Okay, well, let's start with the Renfield, because I think the Renfield here is some of the best Renfield. It's just some of the least consequential Renfield, because it's not delivering on what I know is here, which is that the Count Dracula has promised Renfield all of this power and all of these lives and has shown him that he can do it, but we can't in 1931 show you thousands of rats in the way that my imagination could do it in the novel. And so I guess I am a little crestfallen about this, because he is giving it his all and he is convincing me that this is important, and it just truly doesn't matter. And we even throw in a little bit of the like ridiculous soul conversation that happened in the novel, but it's like, what about the souls? And then he's like, the souls, I hadn't considered the souls. And then that's gone too. So it's just, too much is happening with Renfield. I need a little bit more edit here, because this could have been amazing and it was just wonderfully acted instead.
We just have like a 2-minute Renfield monologue before we continue on with the rest of the movie, I think.
Exactly.
And like,
this would have been like a good Dracula, the extended edition kind of inclusion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't get it crossways, Tyler. The director Browning was not doing any additional work for this after the fact. He was checked out at day one.
Oof.
All right. Honestly, the fact that the movie is so good when like that is happening behind the camera, I really think is a testament to everybody else on the project.
Yes. In particular, the director of photography who really had to take over as the director. So when you see some of the most incredible shots, and one of them is here because it's sort of a pan out to the patio where Mina and Harker are sitting, and it is so beautifully and wonderfully well done, and it's what you would expect from a director who also had a background in photography. And since Browning is, not doing his job, everyone else has to do it, and that means the director of photography gets to have a little bit more creative control.
Yeah, that's such a really great point. You know what else is a great point? The stake that one could use to kill Dracula. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yes.
Anyway, I think this scene between Van Helsing and Dracula is the first time in history, basically, that the two of them have ever spoken.
Yeah.
And I think that this scene really kind of rules, and I would like to put together a thesis that this scene is the beginning of the pop culture rivalry between Dracula and Van Helsing. Like, we all understood before we started reading the novel that Van Helsing is Dracula's rival, right? I think that the idea for that starts here.
Yeah, I think the whole like drama between the two of them is deliciously like done. I think that there's a lot of like intense acting going on here between these two actors.
Yes.
And I don't even say that in a bad way. It doesn't even come off like that campy in a way that it really could. It feels very sincere. It actually is giving like not only like good versus evil, but it kind of reminds me of like Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Vader in the original Star Wars. Like, obviously it doesn't end the same way, but it feels like that climactic element of like, here is the absolute good, here is the absolute evil. Now watch them go at each other.
Yes,
and
agreed.
That is always fun to capture on film.
Well, even to the point of Van Helsing resisting the hypnotism, because that's not real. We don't have to actually see anything. It is just the suspension of disbelief that Dracula can do this, and then us accepting that Van Helsing is somehow above and beyond it, which makes them peers rather than just, I'm really smart and know about vampires and I am a vampire. But now they are more equally matched than maybe we could even perceive. I think that a lot of my like disappointment in Van Helsing comes from the fact that I know what will come from this just from cultural awareness. And I wish maybe a little bit more of it was here, but you know what? You're both right. This is beautiful as the base coat, and this is where it all came from.
Yeah. And like there is a little bit of admiration. I think at one point Dracula says, for a man who's only had one lifetime, you got a lot of knowledge and stuff. So like there could be a lot, but like the thing is, two foes destined to lock heads, that's pretty queer. And the two, like Van Helsing's so straight, we really can't get that delicious queer energy here.
Yeah, because the line that you just read, Marilee, was one of the standouts and one of my favorites. But if that had been said by Evie Oddly, how much better would it have been? Because it's really shade. It's really like, well, for someone who's only lived one life, I guess you're smart. Like it's really delicious if you read it as like a catty older gay.
Oh my God.
Oh, totally.
The dream.
Well, later, night has fallen again, and a hypnotized nurse opens the windows for Dracula to be admitted to Mina's room. He stalks towards her and takes another drink of her blood before escorting her to Carfax Abbey. Harker and Van Helsing also approach the Abbey, where they see Renfield creeping about. Inside, Renfield runs to Dracula. As Harker and Van Helsing arrive, Renfield tells Dracula he didn't lead them there, but Dracula picks him up and throws him down the stairs to his death. Harker and Van Helsing break into the Undercroft. They find Dracula's casket, and Van Helsing drives a stake through his heart. Mina awakens from her state, saved from Dracula's influence. They leave the castle, and the end appears on the screen.
A little bit of disappointment.
Yeah.
In the
What
ending.
a disappointment here at the
Right?
end. I thought there would be a showdown, and there was not a showdown.
No. Like, I guess part of the legacy of Dracula, at least initially, is that the first half is way better than the second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly no like Victorian cowboys charging upon like in a chase sequence.
God, not even any. I mean, we had one gunshot at the bat earlier from the orderly, which led to the orderly be like, "I think everyone's here crazy," which was like this strange comedy moment that I didn't even need.
Like that, I watched that and it was like, oh, classic theater. You just have like these two guys wandering around while you're preparing for a big set change behind the curtain. I did think it was a very funny line, especially when he tells like the lady that he's with, the nurse, it's like, man, everybody here is crazy except for the two of us, and I don't know about you. And the woman looks at him in the weirdest way possible, says, yes. And the scene ends. What the fuck are we doing?
Whatever, they got paid. Or at least he probably did. Who knows about her? Here's the deal. Renfield, incredible. Just so good here at the end. He's giving it his all. His death is sad. It feels tragic because he's trying to appease this man that he looks up to. He's trying to beg for forgiveness, even though he is deeply committed to saving Mina at the same time. There's so much conflict that we are getting and he is giving us, and then he is killed, and that is earned. That whole thing is good.
Yeah. R.I.P. Renfield, baby. He was our queer hero and he has died for it.
Yeah, he like the line delivery, my God, is so intense, and it's like maybe you're a bad dude. You've done some bad things, and movie law states that you got to die for it. But also, like, I don't want you to. Like, I feel it. Like, you poor creature.
Yeah.
You've been misled. You've been manipulated.
And like, he was a normal person when he went to Transylvania, and the Count twisted him and broke his mind and did all of this stuff. He is a victim, but he does not get to be like redeemed or saved like Mina does. He gets to get tossed down the stairs cruelly by his ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
But that does of course like give us the inciting incident. Dracula retreats to the Undercroft, bars the door long enough to like creep into his coffin, which makes him vulnerable,
I guess.
And then they break in and kill him, and it is so fast. It is both so fast and so slow. And I don't know what other words to give this except that they are like instantly in the Undercroft, then they instantly kill him, except there's like 6 minutes to look for a rock to like bang the stake in. And it's I was like, oh, maybe one of the wives is going to get him here at the end. Maybe there'll be a little bit of extra conflict, and there's nothing.
It just happens.
Yeah. The other legacy for the back half of Dracula, boxes of dirt cause too much fucking around.
Truly.
Yep.
And Mina is just like in a powered down state, like she didn't charge her batteries long enough, and then suddenly
Literally
like wakes
what I
up.
thought too.
God, it's just, let's end on a high note. The sets, especially of like the Undercroft and inside Carfax Abbey, fucking incredible.
Incredible.
Yep.
Incredible. Love the sets. Loved every time we got to visit. I mean, the Undercroft was great. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciated every time the camera panned up to the window to show us that it was night, panned back down, and all of a sudden Drac was there. I love that. I love that the film said, we're never going to show you this man deigning to get out of his coffin. He is just out of it when he is out of it. And I that was smart. And yeah, I love the set. The set is great. I loved seeing the end over it, though I was quite surprised that it was the end. Because Frankenstein gave us that like nice little toast at the end. Even though I think we all felt like it was kind of weird, but at least it was there. And this is just like, oh, honey, remember that silly time that you were possessed by some weird foreigner who came here? Oh, well, let's go be married and have babies.
Yeah, like, I know that they sometimes rung bells at dawn or whatever, but like the two of them walking up the stairs to bells ringing gave very much marriage for some reason. And like,
I think I think that's intentional.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was meant to kind of be like a little hint, like, oh, wedding bells are in their future now. So we're not ending with a wedding, but we're ending with the promise of a wedding. And that's how you have to end like tragedies or comedies, is that there has to be a wedding. Well, overall, how did we feel about the 1931 film Dracula in terms of horror or queerness after our conversation? Any other final thoughts for this episode?
I was delighted to watch it. I am glad that we are continuing to go through Universal Monster Pictures every October. I think that that is a fun way for us to learn about the origins of these things that became very important for the horror canon. I don't know that I love this. I love that I've seen it. Just like I love that I had read the book, but I think so much better ground gets covered with this. Not that we'll talk about next week, but that exists out in the world, that I am excited to eventually visit. I feel like now, once we finish the month, I might just check out Bram Stoker's Dracula just to see where things end up going. But I don't know. I had fun with this. It was beautiful, and Renfield was fantastic, and it was gay. It was gay for more than just Dracula, and I liked that too.
I think really the legacy of what this movie does and creates and like the impact that it makes is more than the sum of its parts. Does that make sense? Like, I think that,
Yes.
I think that probably a lot of the other Universal movies that feature Bela Lugosi as Dracula are going to be better than this one, which I am excited to check out.
Yeah, I feel like the movie overall is best because it's Bela Lugosi's Dracula, so it's Bela Lugosi's show. I think Renfield and Dwight Frye should be mentioned in the same breath because, wow, Renfield is incredible in this.
My favorite.
A fascinating character. So interesting. I like in the way that the Crew of Light is the group protagonist from the novel. I feel like Renfield and Dracula are our duo protagonists, and Renfield's end is also Dracula's end too. So really great. I feel like there's fun queerness in this, especially after we came from some more like heavy, higher intense queer analysis. It's nice to just be like, yeah, Renfield, totally gay for Dracula.
Totally gay for Dracula.
And if you're gay for Dracula, I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And you don't need to hypnotize an usher into a cunning ploy to introduce yourself to us. You can simply follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at FearCodedPod.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can join the bats in our belfry, even if they're just bobbing up and down with a string, and subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/fearcodedpodcast. You can show your appreciation at one of 3 levels with accompanying bonus content starting at the $3 level.
Fear Coded is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you'd like to listen to more queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of shows at glitterjaw.com.
And don't forget that on the 31st, we're going to do our own treat for all of you with another seasonal Q&A episode. So if you'd like to know which of us is which wife who married Dracula and lived forever with him, you can ask that or any other question by emailing us at fearcodedpod@gmail.com or DMing our podcast Blue Sky or Instagram accounts, or you can even use the commenting function on Spotify. We will answer all questions submitted by October 24th, so very little time left, gang. And join us next time as we wrap up Drac-tober with a more modern take on the Count by discussing the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 5 opening episode, Buffy vs. Dracula. But for now, we will simply say goodbye.
Bye.
Antichrist or the chosen one. I am not your savior or the promised one. My name is Blood, the Transylvanian.
John by John Battle by this guy by John Balderstone. Balderstone.
I am not a Satan or a cruel demon, nor the Black Prince or a firstborn son.
Count Dracula and
David, can you keep it Count Dracula, please? David, keep this in.
David, give this in.
I will fight, kill and die for you, Romania. I spread my wings and fly, unite Romania. Fight.
This is like wildly faithful to the novel that we just wrote.
Yeah.
Or we just wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wrote Dracula.
Why, he's mad. Look at his eyes. Why, the man's gone crazy.